Today, we will going to tackle about Japanese literature. But before that, let me introduce to you our learning outcomes. At the end of the lesson, the students will be able to determine the development of Japanese literature from the beginning up to the modern period. Share their opinions about how the development of Japanese literature and literature each period influenced Japanese beliefs and customs. Compose original haiku poems following the 575 syllable structure. So initially, our topic is about the development of Japanese literature from the beginning up to the modern period. Did you know that Japan is one of the world's leading industrial trading nations and the first Asian nation to develop a technologically advanced economy? It is a small country compared to the United States, but it is larger than United Kingdom, Germany, and all other major European countries except for France, Sweden, and Spain. So before World War II, Japan was the center of an empire which at times included Korea, Manchuria, Taiwan, southern China, Sakhalin, and Marianas Islands in the Southeast Pacific. So as you observe, the neighboring country of Japan, kabantay mo karon, its neighboring country is part of Japan. Nga nakadako ang Japan before World War II. But today, following the concessions of territory, Japan greatly reduced in size into 4 main islands which consist of Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. So in this part, ani sa northern, diri na belong ang Hokkaido. Ani naman ang Honshu. Diri siya nga island, ani nga part, ani ang Honshu. Then diri is the Shikoku, and ang pinakaubos niya, the southern part is the whole Kyushu. So the name Japan is based on the Chinese reading Nippon or Nihon, which means the land of the rising sun. Have you ever wondered why Japan is called the land of the rising sun? Wala pa kayo ba? Because Japan is located at the East Asia, wherein the first landmass who will greet the sunrise. That is why it is called as the land of the rising sun. The island were known to European traders during the 15th century. But during the Tokugawa period, around 1603 to 1867, it is an era of isolation of Japan wherein Japan developed a highly original and distinctive culture. So when we say highly original and distinctive culture, Japan has their own ways or unique ways of customs, beliefs, and traditions that are up until now are still being practiced by the Japanese. So the country reopened the contact and trade with the outside world under the Major Restoration around 1868 to 1912. So Major Restoration, after the Tokugawa period, here comes the Major Restoration. The leader of the Tokugawa period was being defeated by Emperor Meiji, and then the Major Restoration was named after him. So although Japan possessed few industrial raw materials, it developed into one of the world's leading industrial nation. Because have you observed, up until now, Japan is living 50 years ahead of us. They are very modern. Ilang technology, very kanang more enhanced na kaayo bitaw. Futuristic. Yes. That is why, but even after that, Japan waged war against the Allies during the World War II. Gikuan na pad sila, gisakop. But even after Japan surrendered, it was because United States implanted an 2 atomic bomb into the 2 cities of Japan, which are Hiroshima and Nagasaki, wherein 150,000 to 246,000 people were killed, and most of them were citizens. But what's the most amazing in that part is that Japan achieved a great recovery and became the world's second leading economic power after the United States. Japanese writing system. So the modern Japanese writing system uses the kanji, which ideograms from Chinese characters. Next is the kana. It is a pair of syllabaries consisting of hiragana and katakana. So when we say hiragana, it is used for native Japanese words. And the katakana is used for foreign loan words and sometimes replace kanji or hiragana for emphasis. So these photos are the examples of the writing systems of Japanese people. This is hiragana, the kanji, and the katakana. So as you observe, na-jay pagka-similar kanji sa Chinese, right? Sa kanji because Chinese has a greater influence sa Japan before. Kay part man siya sa Japan. Most specifically, the southern China. So, this is the main part. Japanese literature was divided or were divided into 4 periods, which are the ancient literature, the classical literature, the medieval literature, and the modern literature. So in the ancient period, Japanese doesn't have their own writing system. Chinese characters were further adopted, and the earliest works created in the Nara period were the Kojiki and the Nihongi. So Kojiki means records of ancient matter, while Nihongi means chronicles of Japan. Wherein in Kojiki, it relates to the creation of the world. It also describes the gods and goddesses of the mythological period, and it contains about facts in Japan. Wherein in Nihongi, or the Chronicles of Japan, it tells the history of Japan in poetry and shows the profound influence of Chinese sa mga Japanese. So these two were considered as the oldest literature of Japan. Pero na sa isa, or di ba na-include siya sa other part or other prominent work during that period, which is the Orishima Taro, which has been identified as the earliest example of a story involving time travel. So even in ancient period, time travel, na-introduce na siya ang time travel na genre sa ancient period. Next, the classical period. It started from 794 to 1185. So, 1185. Started from, because the ancient literature ended. So, classical literature is also known as the Heian period, which referred to the golden era of Japanese art and literature. So, the prominent works during this period includes the Manyosho, or the collection of Myra leaves, and the famous Genji Monogatari, or the Tale of Genji. So when we say Manyosho, it is the oldest collection of Japanese poetry collected in the year 1800s. And the famous Tale of Genji was written by a court lady named Murasaki Shikibu, which is considered the preeminent masterpiece of the Heian fiction, and the first example of a work of fiction in the form of novel. So are you familiar with the story, The Tale of Genji? Okay, just the title. So, just a brief background of the story of Genji. Genji is a son of an emperor by his mistress. But after his mother and her father died, the emperor, ipaswila siya, sustained his education in the palace, but forced to marry a woman. And the next, the other important writings include Iroha-pong, Takitori Monogatari, and Ganshapo Monogatari Sho. So Iroha-pong is one of the 2 standards orderings for the Japanese syllabary. Next is Tamatari Monogatari, or known as The Tale of the Bamboo Maker. The Tale of the Bamboo Maker, which is the 10th century Japanese narrative. And lastly is the Ganshapo Monogatari Sho, which is side note, the medieval period started from 1185 and lasted 1600. In the medieval literature, Japan experienced many civil wars, which led to the development of a warrior class and subsequent war tales, histories, and related stories. So work from this period is notable for its insights into life and death, simple lifestyles, and so one of the prominent works during this period is the Tale of Heike, which is an epic account of the struggle between two clans for control of Japan at the end of the 12th century. Other important works include Hojuki, or the Kamona Choimes, and the Yoshida Keiko's Churi Surikusa. Lastly, the modern period, also known as the Edo period. So during the Tokugawa period, it is commonly referred to as Edo period. The capital of Japan moved from Kyoto to Edo, which is now the modern Tokyo. Scholarly work continued to be published in Chinese, which was the language of the learned much as Latin was in Europe. So if Latin was if the domination of Latin in Europe, Chinese also dominate the writing system and the language sa Japan. So next, and did you know that if English literature has William Shakespeare, Japanese literature also have Shikamatsu Monzeinon. Shikamatsu Monzeinon, he is a kabuki dramatist, also known as Japanese Shakespeare, yes? And many of genres of literature made their debut during this Edo period, helped by a rising literary rate among the growing population of townspeople, as well as the development of lending libraries. The prominent writers during this period include Matsuo Basho, Hokusai, Jippensha Iko. I won't kind of further discuss them because I know that the next reporter will kind of muna ilahang itopic. Next, under the modern period is the Meiji period, which marks the reopening of Japan to the West and a period of rapid industrialization. The introduction of European literature brought free verse into the poetic repertoire. It became widely used for longer works embodying new intellectual themes. Young Japanese prose writers and dramatists struggled with a whole galaxy of new ideas on artistic schools. But novelists were the first to assimilate some of this concept successfully. Then we have the Japan's first winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature for his narrative mystery, Mr. Kawabata Yasunari. He is the first Japanese winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature because of his narrative mystery, which with great sensibility and expresses the essence of the Japanese mind. The last period during the modern period, or the last period during the Meiji period, is the post-war and contemporary period, where in World War II and Japan's defeat, it deeply influenced Japanese literature. Many authors wrote stories of disaffection, loss of purpose, and the coping with defeat. So mostly the topic here is mga namatyan o bana during the battle, mga military nga wala na kaulit. Wala kasagaran themes and topic ani nga period. So prominent writers of the 1970s and 1980s were identified with intellectual and moral issues in their attempts to raise social and political consciousness. Modern Japanese writers covered a wide variety of subjects. One particularly Japanese approach stressed their subjects' inner lives, widening the earlier novels' preoccupation with the narrator's consciousness. Popular fiction, non-fiction, and children's literature all flourished in Japan during the 1980s, wherein many popular works fell between pure literature and pulp novels, including all sorts of historical serials information packed with dramas, science fiction, mysteries, detective fiction, business stories, war journals, and animal stories. Non-fiction covered everything from crime to politics, wherein manga or comic books have penetrated almost every sector of the popular market. So have you observed, Japanese is the very source of comic books. Kaya ba, Kingboy bitaw? Kanang, right? Ghibli? Kingboy bitaw na sila, like they're just being a stroke of... basta for the growing animation. Animation. Mga anime. Mostly sa Japanese na na-originated because na-influence na siya during the contemporary literature in the 1980s up until now and the present. So next is the Japanese drama. So Japanese, ano na sa Japanese drama? The first one is the No. It is a very traditional performance theater of Japan, which was originally reserved for the nobility. It involves music, dance, and drama. No is one of the oldest major theater tradition in Japan and still regularly performed up until today. So it emphasizes subtle movements, chanting, and stylish gestures rather than realistic acting. So the main kanang buhatan aning sa no drama is kanang chants. And actors wear intricate masks and elaborate costumes that are symbolic and convey specific roles of emotion. So as you can see in the picture, di ba ang ang traditional kanang sinuotan sa Japan, but they're a little bit exaggerated. Like very dagko siya, and then ang kanang actor na is mag-wear of mask. No is also accompanied by traditional music, played by a small orchestra or hayashi, and features slow and deliberate dances. The next one is the kabuki. It is also a form of classical Japanese theater, which has a vibrant blend of drama, music, and dance, known for its stylized performances, elaborate costumes, and distinctive makeup. Kabuki originates in the early Edo period, around in the 1600s in Kyoto, Japan. Why do you think kabuki play is popular? It was particularly popular among townspeople and became a major theatrical form of Japan because kanang say mga kanang colorful costumes, and performers also wear colorful and intricate design. Costumes. It is mainly popular because of their exaggerated costumes and colorful one. The last one is the Jururi or Bunkaku. It is also a traditional Japanese puppet theater. It is a story also accompanied by a shamisen. So when we say shamisen, it is a 3-string lute and puppets are manipulated to act out the narrative. So as you observe, these are life-size puppet. It is creepy, I think, because sometimes they are larger than humans, which are being manipulated by 3 puppeteers, often wear black cloth so that they could not be seen or they will remain unseen. So Taiyo, the narrator, chants the story and describes the action. Jururi originated in Osaka in the 17th century, wherein the themes often focus in historical tales, human drama, and themes such as loyalty, vengeance, filial piety, love, and religious miracles. So that would be all. Thank you.